Welcome to World Gone Weird, discussing what the heck is going on in the world today.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. And I swear, every week it's like, what fresh hell is this?
I know it's a lot, but hopefully we can find some threads of understanding in all this craziness.
Understanding? Oh, honey, I'm just here for the chaotic vibes. It's like watching a dumpster fire, but, with slightly higher stakes.
Well, speaking of dumpster fires, did you guys see the news about the Pacific Palisades? That wildfire was just insane.
Insane is an understatement. Homes, schools, everything just gone. I mean, what's it going to take for us to get a handle on this kind of thing?
It's absolutely devastating. The speed at which it spread, the lack of response, it's deeply concerning. And the fact people had to just abandon their cars with keys in them, that says it all really.
Oh, I love that. Leave your keys in the car so we can bulldoze it out of the way. It's like a real-life game of bumper cars, but with significantly higher insurance premiums.
But seriously, it's another reminder that this stuff is happening more frequently now. I mean, the conditions with the wind, the lack of rain, it's almost like a perfect storm for disaster. It's not just a coincidence anymore, is it?
No, it's not. And what about all those fancy smart evacuation apps that were promised? Did they even work in time, I wonder? Seemed like everyone was just scrambling, relying on, well, leaving their keys in the car to survive.
Exactly, it points to a breakdown in preparation, communication, and infrastructure. We talk about technology solving all problems, but it can't seem to stop a fire or let everyone know where to go. And what about the fire hydrants running dry? That is a systems failure right there.
Right. They're all like, download our app. It'll be super helpful. Meanwhile, the hydrants are playing a real-life game of Where's Waldo. And look, I'm no expert, but maybe, just maybe, having enough water is kind of important when, there's a massive fire.
It really does highlight how vulnerable we are, even with all the tech and supposed preparedness. It makes you wonder about all the other systems that might fail us when we really need them.
Vulnerable is the word, and it's not just natural disasters. Did you see what Trump is up to now? Trying to get his sentencing blocked by the Supreme Court. It's like, is nothing sacred?
It's another concerning move, that's for sure. The legal wrangling, the attempts to delay, it all undermines the legal system and the idea of accountability. I mean, the guy has a scheduled sentencing date, and he is going to go to the Supreme Court for a stay.
It just feels like a deliberate attempt to erode trust in every institution. And it sets a precedent that the powerful can just ignore the rule of law when it doesn't suit them.
It's all part of this trend we've been talking about, isn't it? The lack of accountability, the erosion of norms, challenges to the institutions that are meant to protect us. I mean, if the law doesn't apply to the most powerful person in the country, what message does that send?
The message is, it's good to be the king, or president-elect, whatever. And look, maybe this whole thing is a very long, very convoluted performance art piece. I mean, what else could it be?
Well, if it is performance art, it's a pretty terrifying piece. What's troubling is the way these events are being interlinked. The climate crisis, political instability, legal challenges. There's a sense of everything unraveling and escalating at the same time, right?
It's like all the dominoes are falling at once. And frankly, I'm not sure our systems are up to the task of handling all of this at the same time. We're putting out fires, literally and figuratively.
And it feels like everything is a competition, like a zero-sum game. Whether it's between political parties or nations, or even people on a burning hillside, everyone is just trying to get ahead or survive the situation. And that's not sustainable, and it's sure not how you solve problems.
Oh, definitely. It's the Hunger Games, but with slightly less stylish outfits. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the odds are stacked against us. We've got climate change making the world angry, politicians making us angry, and fires making everyone run for their lives. It's a real triple threat.
Yes, and it's this escalating chaos that leads me to think about how technology is impacting modern conflict, how AI is changing things. I mean, we have talked about this, but with these new events, how is this influencing things?
Okay, so now we're talking about AI in conflict. I don't know. It feels like we're stepping into science fiction. Are we really at the point where AI is making decisions about who lives and dies in war?
It's definitely a concern. The idea of autonomous weapon systems, machines that can choose targets and engage without human intervention, it is deeply troubling, especially when you combine that with how much we have seen the world being at each other's throats.
Yeah, because what could possibly go wrong with giving robots free will to decide who goes boom? It's not like robots ever go on rampages in any stories ever.
It's not just the robots. Think about the AI algorithms used in intelligence gathering, surveillance, or even in propaganda campaigns. These are all areas where AI is being used more, and it changes the landscape of conflict completely. and it is so hard to see when it is occurring.
Okay, now that's even scarier. So it's not just about robots with guns, it's about AI shaping narratives, feeding us misinformation, and manipulating our perceptions. It's like we're in a digital Cold War.
It's a new battlefield, that's for sure. And this kind of warfare is so insidious because it's not always visible. It can sow division, mistrust, chaos without a single shot being fired. It's about manipulating populations, not just destroying cities.
So we are not fighting each other anymore. We are fighting algorithms, and they say the internet is a friendly place. What a joke.
And think about the implications for international law. How do you apply the laws of war to conflicts where AI is making decisions? How do you assign responsibility? Who is accountable when an algorithm makes a mistake that causes civilian casualties?
That's it. It's like the law is stuck in the 20th century, while warfare is now in the 22nd. There's no framework for dealing with autonomous weapons or cyber warfare or disinformation campaigns. It is chaos.
Right. Existing international law is built on the idea of human actors making conscious decisions. But what happens when it's AI making those decisions, often without any clear human oversight? This is new territory, legally, ethically, and morally.
Oh yeah, it's like trying to teach a goldfish to play chess. The rules don't work anymore. The whole thing is a giant mess, and I'm convinced the machines are laughing at us.
So we need new frameworks, new rules, and new ways of thinking about conflict. It's a global issue that needs global cooperation, something we seem particularly bad at.
Global cooperation? That's cute. I don't see nations agreeing on anything these days, let alone on AI regulation. They're all too busy trying to gain an advantage over each other.
That's why it's essential to make sure there's transparency in AI development and deployment, so that there is an understanding of what is actually going on. We also need to start some global conversations on the ethical implications of AI in conflict, and create a global set of rules. We have to build a path forward.
Okay, you're right. We need global cooperation, transparency, ethical guidelines, ... IT quote S, like a giant to-do list that nobody has the energy to actually complete. Good luck with that.
It's not about luck, it's about necessity. If we don't address these issues with some seriousness, we could find ourselves in a world where AI is escalating conflict beyond our control. Think about how quickly something like a wildfire can get out of hand, and then think about that with the speed of algorithms.
And the thing is, the AI arms race is already happening. Nations are racing to develop more powerful AI for military applications, and nobody's really talking about safeguards or ethical considerations. And all the while, we are focusing on Trump's sentencing.
It's a terrifying thought. This is why AI development needs to be focused on creating solutions rather than exacerbating conflict. I mean, we have to think about AI for climate solutions, disease control, education. These are all real things that need solutions as well.
Okay, so instead of making killer robots, we are making robots that can plant trees? It feels like we're putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Either way, what chance do we have with these fires and presidents going wild for a better future using AI?
We have to try. The alternative is to just accept the chaos, and I refuse to do that. We need to understand how AI is reshaping warfare, how these algorithms are impacting real-world conflict, and then develop strategies to mitigate the risks and use the technology for good. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Proactive is great in theory, but what happens when a country decides, hey, I'm not going to play by the rules? How do we hold them accountable? The UN seems powerless in the face of current global conflicts, like Sudan, for example. And what if it's an AI making the decisions?
We need to strengthen international bodies, ensure greater transparency from all nations and their private sector as well. It's not just about governments, it's also about the tech companies developing these AI systems, holding them to the same ethical standards.
Ah, yes, the tech companies, those paragons of ethical behavior. Well, as long as their profits are safe, I'm sure they'll get right on that global responsibility thing. It is all going to end well, I'm sure.
Look, I understand the skepticism, but we need to have these conversations. We need to educate the public, to engage in debate, and to create the legal and ethical structures that can prevent a runaway AI arms race. It's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. The AI development is also not going to stop, so let's get in front of it.
I suppose. But it's hard to be optimistic when you see fires raging, political systems fracturing, and AI turning into a new tool for conflict. I mean, sometimes it feels like we are just accelerating towards the edge of a cliff, and it's hard to see if anything can stop this.
But we have to have hope. That's how we move forward. We need to continue to push for a global solution and believe that a better future is possible. We need to make that path forward, so it needs to begin somewhere and then continue. We can't afford to be cynical and give up. We need to keep working on it all and be better for tomorrow.
Oh, optimism. That's adorable. I'm stocking up on popcorn and a front row seat for the end of the world, but you guys go and be positive. I'll be here when you want to talk about what color scheme you prefer in an apocalypse.
Well, despite the unique perspectives here, I think we all can agree that the world is experiencing some turbulent times. The convergence of climate change, political instability, and technological advancement creates both challenges and opportunities, and it highlights the interconnectedness of all our actions, whether it's abandoning cars or using AI. We need to stay informed, engaged, and advocate for real solutions, not just band-aids.
Yeah, we can't afford to stick our heads in the sand and pretend it isn't all happening. We need to hold our leaders accountable, question the narratives being presented, and push for real change on all levels and at the same time. It's not easy, that is for sure.
Absolutely. It's up to all of us to create the future we want. We have to build communities and systems that are more resilient, more equitable, and more sustainable. It's a big job, but we need to all work together.
Well, if you need me, I'll be over here organizing my doomsday bunker. But seriously, stay safe out there, folks, because, things are weird.
And on that cheerful note, that's all the time we have for today, everyone. Thanks for joining us on World Gone Weird, where we try to make sense of the chaos. Join us next week, if the world hasn't ended by then, and we'll dive into whatever new madness awaits.